I know who it was.
I think photography is not about creating beautiful shots. It's about creating a film that sustains the feel all the way through without losing the audience. Yeah, I mean, that's the trick.
That was Roger Deakins, a celebrated cinematographer who has worked on many films throughout his life. In that clip, he's talking about a pretty important aspect of filmmaking, cinematography. Cinematography is the how part of the way images are captured. It is all of the on-screen visual elements of a TV show or film. It includes lighting, framing, composition, color, and more. It encompasses practically everything about the way we see things on the screen. Atonement is a film directed by Joe Wright, and its cinematography is done by Seamus McGarvey. The cinematography of Atonement consistently supports the story's narrative as it develops and evolves. Atonement is the story of two young lovers, Cecilia Tallis and Robbie Turner, who were ripped apart from one another on account of a lie told by Cecilia's jealous younger sister, Bryony Tallis. The film follows their lives and the fallout that occurs from the lie. The film can be understood in 3 parts. Part 1 depicts a single day in the summer of 1935 in rural England. It is the day that Cecilia and Robbie realize their love for one another, and it is also the day that Bryony falsely accuses Robbie of rape, sending him to prison. It represents a turning point for each of them, and their lives are forever changed. The light and color in this part of the film is very airy and blurry around the edges. This effect enforces the fact that this is a memory and can never be truly, clearly seen again. The colors are diverse, and many of the shots are outdoors in the countryside, representing the hope, possibility, and openness in all of these young people's lives. On many occasions, close-ups of Bryony, and particularly her eyes, are included, which I believe serve to emphasize the idea of her perspective and the way she understands what is happening around her. It is on account of her perspective, after all, that changes their lives forever. Part 2 follows the consequences of Bryony's actions. It is 4 years later, and Cecilia is working as a nurse in London when she runs across Robbie, who is enlisted in the war rather than stay in prison. An older Bryony appears and is shown to also be training as a nurse. Things seem to be bleaker now, and the cinematography reflects that. The colors are more muted and the light seems to be sharper. The edges of people and things in the shots are very clear, enforcing the reality and depth of the situation all of the characters find themselves in. A large portion of time is dedicated in this part to show Robbie, his life, and the war. Many cooler and beige tones are incorporated throughout this part of the film. In its beginning, Robbie is shown during the war, standing outside as the sun begins to set. It is metaphorical, as Robbie's life too has in a way ended, with his dreams of going to medical school shattered, with his hopes of marrying Cecilia. Bryony's representation in this part of the film is especially bleak, as she works long hours every day in the hospital. She always seems to be in the shadow, wearing muted colors which enforce the guilt and sadness she must feel. Even now, many shots consist of Bryony and her eyes. Her perspective remains important, especially now as it is changed to understand the gravity of her actions as a child. Part 3 shows a much older Bryony, who is revealed to be the author of the book of which this story is about. She is a successful writer and has written Atonement, an autobiographical novel detailing that fateful day in 1935 and everything that has happened since. Bryony is shown on numerous occasions throughout her interview against a black background which almost swallows her. It emphasizes the guilt that has eaten away at her all those years, as well as the loneliness she must feel at her age when most of her family is gone. Her dressing room is shown to be white and bare, almost sterile. It seems to reflect the way she has confronted her past, choosing to tell the truth as to what happened in her writing. The final sequence of Atonement portrays what could have been. The unreal beauty of the small cottage that Cecilia and Robbie could have lived in together is shot next to the beach and cliffs as though it were a postcard. The dreamlike quality of the composition and light serves to represent the unattainable quality of this vision. Throughout the film, the cinematography enforces the foundational feelings and ideas portrayed by the characters and their circumstances, proving itself to be invaluable as a tool in telling the story through the screen.